The woman was on her knees beside Kate's hospital bed, weeping. Her hands were folded. Her lips were moving in prayer. Every nurse who passed that doorway saw her and felt something soft in their chest. A stepmother so devoted, so present, so broken by her daughter's suffering that she had not left that room in 3 days. Kate lay still under the white hospital sheet, a drip in her arm, her face pale and thin from weeks of a sickness the doctors could not explain. A young woman of 26 who had been healthy her whole life, now barely able to lift her hand. And Gloria, the stepmother, wept at her bedside. Everyone said the same thing. That woman loves Kate like her own blood. God bless Gloria, she never left her. Kate is lucky to have someone who cares so much. Nobody questioned it. Nobody looked at Gloria's tears closely enough to notice that they were always perfectly timed, that they arrived when someone was watching, and stopped when no one was nobody except one person, and that one person was about to change everything. Before we continue, please like this video and subscribe to Black African Tales, so you never miss a story, and write in the comments from where you are listening our story. To understand what was happening in that hospital room, you have to go back to the beginning, back to the year Kate lost everything, and the woman who appeared just in time to help her pick it up. Kate was 21 years old when her father died. His name was Tom. He was a simple man, a school teacher in Lagos, who rode the same bus every morning, carried the same brown bag, and came home every evening, smelling of chalk and pride. He was not a wealthy man, but he was a present one. He attended every school event Kate ever had. He kept every report card she ever brought home, folded inside his Bible. He told her every single day of her childhood that she was worth more than she knew. When Tom died of a sudden illness, 3 days in the hospital, and then gone, just like that something went out of Kate, like a light being switched off. She stopped going to church. She stopped praying. She sat in the small house they had shared, surrounded by his things, and she asked the question that grief always asks. If God is good, why does he take the good ones? She had no answer. For a full year, Kate lived in that question. She worked her small data entry job in silence. She came home in silence. She ate alone. Her friend Rose would come to sit with her, and Kate would smile and say she was fine, and Rose would know she was not, and neither of them would say anything more about it. And then Gloria came. She was a friend of Kate's Salate Moter, a connection from decades ago, a woman who heard through the church network that Tom had died and that his daughter was alone. She arrived at Kate's door with a pot of soup and a warm smile and eyes that seemed to carry genuine concern. She was 52 years old. She was well-dressed without being showy. She spoke softly and listened carefully. She sat with Kate for 2 hours that first evening, and she did not offer advice, and she did not quote scripture, and she did not say, God has a plan. She simply sat and listened. And when she left, she said, I will come back next week. If you will, let me. Kate let her. Week after week, Gloria came. She brought food. She fixed small things in the house. She helped Kate organize her father's belongings when Kate finally felt ready. And slowly, so slowly, that Kate could not say when it began, the light started to come back on. Kate started attending church again. She started praying again. She found a better job. She met David told Rose, I think God sent Gloria to me. Rose smiled, but something behind Rose's smile was not entirely at rest. She is very kind, Rose said carefully. Just make sure you know her. Kate? Really know her? Kate heard the words. She did not take them seriously. She would regret that. 2 years passed. Good years. The best years Kate had known since her father was alive. David was everything Kate had quietly hoped for. Steady, honest, hard-working, the kind of man who remembered small things. He worked as an electrician, ran his own small company, and looked at Kate the way her father had always told her she deserved to be looked at like she was worth something. They dated for a year. He proposed simply, without show, on the veranda of the small house on a Sunday evening, with a ring he had saved for 6 months to buy. Kate said yes before he finished the sentence. Gloria wept at the engagement dinner. Happy tears, she said. Everything was good. Everything was moving forward. Kate's new job in an insurance company came with a promotion after 8 months. She was diligent, careful, good with numbers. She and David began planning a home together. She returned to church fully, joined the women's fellowship, helped with the children's program on Sundays. "You are so different from the girl I met 2 years ago," Gloria said to her one evening over dinner. "You helped me become her," Kate said. Gloria smiled. She reached across the table and squeezed Kate's hand. "I only did what any mother would do." That sentence felt like the warmest thing Kate had ever heard. But 3 weeks after that dinner, something changed. It started with fatigue. Kate came home from work exhausted in a way that a good night's sleep did not fix. Then came the headaches, dull and persistent, arriving every afternoon without explanation. Then the stomach pain. Then, one Thursday morning, she could not get out of bed at all. David took her to the hospital. The doctors ran tests. The tests came back with nothing conclusive. They prescribed rest and vitamins. She rested. Se took the vitamins. She did not improve. It was Rose who first said it, quietly, carefully, watching Kate's face as she said it. "Kate, when did the sickness start?" Kate thought. "About 3 weeks ago." Rose was quiet for a moment. "Kate, 3 weeks ago? What changed? Did anything change at home?" Kate thought again. 3 weeks ago, what had changed 3 weeks ago? Gloria had started bringing her food again, not the occasional pot of soup from before a daily practice now. "You are busy with wedding planning. Let me cook for you." Every evening, a covered dish left at the door or brought inside and served with warm hands and a warm smile. Kate looked at Rose. "No," she said. Nothing changed. Gloria started cooking for me again. That is all. Rose said nothing more that evening, but her eyes said something that her mouth was not yet ready to form into words. That night, Kate lay in bed and told herself that Rose was being suspicious over nothing. Gloria loved her. Everyone could see it. The sickness was stress, or a virus, or the exhaustion of wedding planning. It was nothing more than that. She fell asleep, telling herself that the question that kept her awake for 20 minutes before sleep came was one she could not silence. Why did she feel better on the days? Gloria did not bring food. Kate did not want to investigate. Investigating meant entertaining a thought that felt like a betrayal of the woman who had been a mother to her when she had none. Investigating meant asking, what if the love was not love? And that question was too painful to ask when you had already given your heart to the answer. But the body does not lie the way the mind can. On the days Gloria brought food, Kate grew worse. On the days she did not, when Gloria was busy or away, or when Kate made an excuse and said she had already eaten, Kate felt well enough to work, well enough to laugh, well enough to almost be herself. It was not a dramatic difference. It was subtle, but it was consistent, and consistency is the language of truth. It was David who moved first. Quietly, without telling Kate, he took one of Gloria's covered dishes left at their door on a Tuesday evening, and brought it to a laboratory at a private medical clinic he had heard about from a colleague. He told Kate he had eaten the food already, so she should not worry. He watched her sleep that night with something cold and careful in his eyes. That was not the eyes of a man who had simply eaten dinner. 3 days later, the laboratory called. David sat Kate down at the kitchen table. He held both her hands. His face was the face of a man carrying something heavy and handing it to someone who does not yet know how heavy it is. "I need you to listen to me," he said, "and I need you to be strong." "David, what is it?" He placed the laboratory report on the table between them. The food from Gloria's dish had tested positive for a substance, a plant-based compound. Traditional, not immediately lethal in small quantities, but with cumulative effects, that over weeks and months could damage the kidneys, cause chronic fatigue, and in some cases create conditions that looked exactly like the unexplained illness Kate had been carrying for 3 weeks. Someone had been putting something in Kate's food. Not poison in the dramatic, sudden sense. Something slower. Something patient. Something that looked like sickness and not like harm. Kate stared at the report. The paper shook in her hands. Not from weakness, from the specific trembling that comes when the mind refuses what the eyes are reading. "This is a mistake," she said. "Kate, this is a mistake. David, the lab made an error. Gloria loves me. She has been with me since my father died. She has never—" "Kate," his voice was quiet and firm. "He took food from Irdish, the same food you have been eating, the same food that arrived every evening since the sickness started." The kitchen was very quiet. Outside, a generator hummed on the street below. A child laughed somewhere far away. The ordinary sounds of Lagos continuing without knowledge of what was crumbling inside this room. Kate put the report down. She put her face in her hands. David did not speak. He simply moved his chair beside hers and put his arm around her and let her feel the weight of it without trying to lift it for her. When Kate called Rose the next morning and told her about the report, Rose did not make the sound of surprise. She made the sound of someone who has been holding something in for a long time and has finally been given permission to release it. "I need to tell you something," Rose said. "I should have told you before. I was afraid you would not believe." 6 months ago, Rose had been at a women's fellowship meeting at a church across town, not their church, a different one. When she had seen Gloria there, this was not unusual. But what Rose saw was Gloria deep in conversation with an older woman at the back of the church, in a corner, away from the main group. Their voices were low. Their heads were bent close together. Rose had not thought much of it at the time. But she had heard one sentence clearly. "She is rising too fast," Gloria had said, "and she does not give me the credit I deserve for it." Rose had told herself it was nothing. A complaint between women, everyone vented. She had pushed it aside. But it had never fully left her. "She was jealous," Rose said over the phone. Her voice was careful and certain. "Kate, I think she was always jealous. Not of who you were when she found you broken and grieving. She was not afraid of that, Kate. She was afraid of who you became." Kate sat with this for a long time. Jealous, the word felt impossible next to the image of Gloria weeping at a hospital bedside, bringing soup squeezing hands across a dinner table, saying, "I only did what any mother would do." But impossible things are only impossible until the evidence makes them necessary. 2 days after the laboratory report, David suggested quietly that they simply stop receiving food from Gloria. Say nothing, distance. Gradually protect Kate's health without a confrontation. It seemed like enough. Kate's health improved almost immediately. When the food stopped, within 5 days, she was sleeping well, eating normally, feeling her own strength return. The relief of it was enormous. David watched her at the breakfast table one morning, talking easily, laughing at something on her phone, and thought, "We do not need to make this a war. We just need to protect what is ours." He was wrong. The confrontation they were trying to avoid found them anyway on a Sunday morning. After church, Gloria had noticed the distance, the unanswered calls, the food refuse, with gentle excuses. She arrived at Kate's house with the covered dish and a different expression, not the warm smile but the careful eyes of a woman who senses that something has changed and is calculating. "Why?" Kate opened the door. They looked at each other across the threshold. "You have not been returning my calls," Gloria said. "I have been resting," Kate said. "The doctors said." "The doctors." Gloria's voice had something new in it, Kate. "What have people been saying to you?" There it was. Not a question of concern, a question of surveillance. Kate looked at this woman. This woman she had called a blessing, called a mother, credited with her healing, and she saw for the first time what Rose had been trying to name for months. Not warmth, management. Gloria had never wanted Kate healed. She had wanted Kate needing her. She had wanted the gratitude, the dependence, the power of being the one who lifted someone from the dust. The moment Kate stood on her own, got the promotion, found David, rebuilt her faith, became the woman her father always believed she could be, Gloria had not celebrated. She had felt replaced, and a certain kind of person, when they feel replaced, does not let go. "I know about the food, Gloria," Kate said. The covered dish in Gloria's hands did not drop. Her expression did not collapse dramatically. She simply went very still. It was Pastor James who brought the final piece. 3 days after Kate's confrontation at the door, Pastor James, a quietly spoken man of 60 who had known Gloria from her own church community for over a decade, asked to meet with Kate and David privately. He sat across from them in his simple office, and he told them what he had learned through a chain of conversations that he could not in good conscience keep to himself any longer. Gloria had lost a daughter 12 years ago. A girl who would have been 28, now almost exactly Kate's age. The girl had died in a road accident. Gloria had never recovered from it. She had never sought help for it. She had carried it sealed inside her. And when she found Kate grieving, alone, the same age her daughter would have been, she had at first genuinely wanted to help. But help had curdled into something else. She did not come to heal Kate, Pastor James said quietly. She came to replace what she lost. And when Kate became her own person, complete and thriving and no longer needing rescuing, Gloria could not accept it. The girl she had replaced her daughter with had outgrown the role. The room was silent. David's jaw was set. His hands were flat on the table. Kate looked at the window. Outside, the ordinary Lagos afternoon, sunlight on concrete walls. Children running somewhere, the city going on. "She nearly killed me," Kate said. Not loudly, just clearly. "Yes," said Pastor James. "She nearly did." The confrontation happened on a Wednesday. Kate had asked Gloria to come. She had not said why. She simply said, "We need to talk. Please come." Gloria arrived in her finest clothing, a silk blouse, gold earrings, the expression of a woman who had been rehearsing composure for 3 days and believed she had it right. She sat in the chair Kate offered her. She placed her bag on her lap and folded her hands over it and waited. Kate sat across from her. David stood near the door, not blocking it, not threatening, just present, a witness. "I tested the food," Kate said. Gloria's expression did not change immediately. Then, slowly, a softening, not guilt, but the managed performance of offense. "What? Do you mean you tested the laboratory, found something in it?" Kate said. "You have been putting something in my food for at least 3 weeks, possibly longer. That is an outrageous, Gloria." Kate's voice was quiet, completely still. "Do not deny it. I am not asking you to confess. I'm telling you that I know. The report is in this house. David has a copy. Pastor James has a copy." Gloria looked at David. At the door, back at Kate, the composure began to fracture. Not all at once, but from the edges. Her jaw shifted. Her hands tightened on her bag. The gold earrings she had worn for confidence now seemed too bright in the afternoon light. "You have no idea what it is to lose a child," Gloria said at last. Her voice was different now. Stripped of its warmth, it was something harder and more honest underneath. "You lost a father, and the whole world mourned with you. When I lost my daughter, nobody came. Nobody cooked for me. Nobody sat with me. I carried it alone for 12 years. I know about your daughter," Kate said gently. "And I am sorry. I am genuinely sorry for that pain." A silence. "But Gloria, your grief does not belong to me. My life is not a replacement for what you lost. You cannot claim someone else's healing and call it yours." "I built you," Gloria said. And there it was, the sentence that encapsulated everything. The sentence that revealed exactly what love had never been in this arrangement. Not given. Constructed. A project. A possession. "You helped me," Kate said. "For that I was grateful. But I built myself. With God's help, I built myself. My father laid the foundation years before you arrived. And when you realized I did not belong to you, you tried to take me apart. This story is moving you. Subscribe now to Black African Tales. The ending will change how you see everything." Gloria stood, her chair scraped against the floor. Her bag was clutched against her chest, now a shield. "Everything I did was because I cared for you. What you did nearly killed me." Kate's voice did not rise, did not shake. It landed like something heavy placed, gently, but finally, on a table. "And I need you to understand that. Not because I want your punishment, but because you need to understand what you did. You need to look at it clearly, and not call it love." Gloria's mouth opened, closed. For the first time in the years Kate had known her, Gloria had no prepared answer, no managed warmth to offer, no performance available. She left without speaking again. David closed the door quietly behind her. Kate sat for a long time in the chair, looking at the place where, crying, not relieved yet, just very, very still, like someone who has just set down something they carried so long they forgot it. The truth came out the way truth always eventually comes out, through a community that was smaller than anyone realizes. Pastor James, after his meeting with Kate and David, took the matter to the church leadership where Gloria had been a member. He did not go publicly. He did not make announcements. He went privately to the elders, with the laboratory report, with the testimony of what had been done. The process was quiet and thorough, and it resulted in Gloria being asked to step down from her position in the church's women's outreach ministry, the position she had used to build the reputation of devoted caregiver that made everything else possible. The women at the fellowship had questions. Gloria answered none of them. The story filtered through the community the way stories do, not in one announcement, but in the quiet accumulating certainty of people who had always sensed something and now had permission to name it. Gloria did not return to Kate's church. She did not return to her own. She withdrew to the small world of her apartment and her silence. And whether she spent that silence in reflection or in bitterness, Kate chose not to know. But the physical evidence, the laboratory report, was handed to a doctor Kate trusted, who documented Kate's case formally. The decision about whether to take further legal action was Kate's alone. She chose not to pursue criminal proceedings. Not out of forgiveness, yet forgiveness would come later, slowly, in its own time, but out of the recognition that what Gloria needed was not a courtroom. She needed a reckoning with herself, and no judge could order that. David watched Kate make this decision and loved her more for it. The wedding was 3 months later. It was not large. It was not expensive. It was held in the small church courtyard on a Saturday morning when the Lagos sky was clear and the harmattan dust had settled overnight, and the air smelled of fresh concrete and flowers that Rose had arranged herself in, to large ceramic pots on either side of the doorway. Kate wore a simple white dress that her late father would have thought was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. David wore a gray suit and stood at the front of the courtyard with the expression of a man who understood exactly what he was being given. James officiated. Rose stood beside Kate and held her flowers and cried openly without any attempt to stop. There was one empty chair in the front row. Nobody had put it there deliberately. It had simply been left the specific absence of a father who would have sat in it. Kate looked at it once, during the vows. She looked at it, and she said, inside herself, "I know you are here. Daddy, I know you see this." And then she turned back to David, and she said her vows with a clear voice and a full heart. 1 year passed. Kate's health returned completely within 2 months of the food stopping. The doctors confirmed that the substance had cleared her system and left no permanent damage. She returned to work full strength, the promotion she had earned the year before. Hilde. She threw herself back into the work she was good at and found, to her own quiet surprise, that the year of illness had not broken her capacity for it. If anything, it had sharpened it. Suffering has a way of clarifying what matters and what does not. David's small electrical company won a significant contract 6 months after the wedding, a school renovation project that kept 6 of his workers employed for the full year and gave him enough to begin planning the house he had been drawing in notebooks since before he met Kate. They moved into it in the 12th month, a modest 3-bedroom in a quiet part of Lagos, with a veranda that caught the evening breeze and a small garden that Kate said she was going to fill with flowers and filled instead with tomatoes, which made David laugh for 3 days. Rose became the kind of friend who is called sister because no other word is accurate enough. She visited every Sunday after church. She sat on the veranda and ate Kate's tomatoes directly from the vine and said they tasted terrible. And Kate agreed, and they both laughed. And the laughter was the laughter of 2 people who have been through something together and come out, the other side still holding hands. Kate returned fully to her faith. Not the frightened, performative faith of someone trying to earn safety, but the settled, quiet faith of someone who has tested it and found it held. She prayed in the mornings, not because she was afraid of what would happen if she didn't, but because she wanted to, because the conversation had become the most honest one available to her. And Gloria word reached Kate through Pastor James, not gossip, but the kind of pastoral information that a good minister shares, when he believes it will serve the healing of both parties, that Gloria had sought counseling at last, that she had finally, after 12 years, begun to grieve her daughter properly, that she was attending a small grief support group at a church on the other side of the city, that she was learning, slowly and painfully, to distinguish between genuine love and the kind of need that wears love's clothing. Kate heard this and held it quietly for a long time. She did not reach out to Gloria. She was not yet ready, and she was honest enough with herself to know it. Perhaps one day, forgiveness would eventually grow to that, but she did not force it, and she did not perform it, and she did not let anyone tell her that healing required a reunion on a timeline she was not yet able to meet. What she did do was this. One Sunday morning she sat at her kitchen table before church with a cup of tea and a piece of paper, and she wrote a letter to her father, not to send. Just to say she wrote about David, about the house, about the tomatoes, about Rose, about what the last year had cost her and what it had given her, about the woman who had tried to keep her small and the God who had made her larger. Anyway, at the end of the letter, she wrote one sentence. You were right, Daddy. I was worth more than I knew. She folded the letter. She placed it inside the same Bible where her father had kept her school report cards all those years. She closed the Bible. She drank her tea. She got ready for church. The woman who had lost her faith at 21 had found it again. Not returned to the naive, untested faith of a girl, but held in the strong, clear hands of a woman who had walked through fire and found the fire had not consumed her. It had only shown her what she was made of, and what Kate was made of, what had always been true. From before the grief and through the sickness and beyond the betrayal was something no one had planted in her and therefore no one could take away. Not cruelty, not sickness, not the slow, patient harm of someone who confused love with ownership. Her father had named it when she was young, without ever needing to explain it. Dignity, the kind that belongs to a person from the beginning and simply waits for them to remember it. Thank you for joining us for this story on Black If this story spoke to your heart, please subscribe to Black African Tales and click the bell icon so you never miss a story. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded of what they are worth. And do not go anywhere. Our next story is waiting for you right here.